So I can activate this. I think I just bring it across like this. Gotta spam observers. I also gotta put lines across the entire top so that it doesn't get stuck ever. Which side did they do the observers on? They do it this way. For real, I don't care about spawn. Yeah, I don't really think it does. Both work, both ways. Oh yeah, whatever, I'm just doing it this way then.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Oh, I'm thinking what you're thinking.
Welcome back, everybody. I am CD3 Daddy.
And I'm C3DG Minecraft.
And today, we are going to be building the best pumpkin farm you could possibly build in Minecraft. Alright, before we get started, let's take a look at our material list. You will see that the material list is mostly going to be blocks and pumpkin seeds. The majority of this build is in the first chest. However, we did divide it out because, as you know, farms are redstone intensive, so we wanted to break it out for you here. And I'm actually kind of joking because this is all the redstone you need for the farm we're going to build. Now, this farm can be doubled in both directions, so you could take this list and multiply it by 4 if you are going to build a 5x5 chunk pumpkin farm base. But this is all the redstone that you're going to need for our farm that we're building today. All right, Colin, tell us the build border for this farm.
Today it is 31 wide and 41 long.
And again, this can be expanded in both directions. If you're building this in DonutSMP, the render distance is going to be 5 chunks if the player is AFKing directly in the middle. So keep that in mind when you are building out your farm. But for today's example, we're just going to show you how to build part of it, and then you can expand on what we teach you to make this as big as you want. To get started, we are going to build a giant dirt platform. This is a pumpkin farm, so it's going to take a lot of dirt. I have marked the position that I am going to start building at to keep the farm inside of our build border. On the length side, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then on the width side, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is going to be where we start. And I'm going to tower up 1 block, 2 blocks, and 3 blocks. Now, if you are wanting to build as close to bedrock as you can, you do need to have at least 4 blocks of space. I'm actually going to build my shulker loader into the ground. You can lower this. I'll show you why you want to at least have 2 blocks space. But if you are wanting to build the shulker loader above ground, you can go 5 blocks. But for now, I'm just going to do 3 blocks total from that starting point. All right, now again, I am going to do 3 blocks up, so I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 temporary blocks out of the way. So it should just be 1 block above your head. We are going to build our pumpkin bed, and starting lengthwise, I'm going to start at the number 1 block and add 2, 3, and 4. From here, I'm going to go widthwise, and I'm going to add 7 blocks. So this will be 1. Actually, it's going to be 7 additional blocks, so it'll be 8, counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. From your first block, Colin, if you could grab some leaves for me. We are going to place a leaf on the 5th block from our starting position. We are going to waterlog it. And then we are going to build 8 more blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a leaf block. We're going to do this one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a leaf block. And one final time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a leaf block. Now, hopefully you can pick up the pattern. We are starting off with 4 dirt blocks. We are adding a waterlogged leaf block, 8 blocks in the middle, waterlogged leaf block, 8 blocks in the middle, and you will repeat this pattern as far as you want your farm. It is best to end on a leaf block. You could technically end it anywhere in between, but I will show you why it's best to end with a waterlogged leaf. And this can be copper grates. If you are in our Discord and you are a VIP member and you had early access to this schematic, we use copper grates. They work exactly the same. Any block that can be waterlogged. All right, we are going to have 7 blocks in between each of our rows of waterlogged leaves. So from our first row, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, then a leaf, I added the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Colin, if you could add that leaf block, waterlog it, and you'll repeat the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Leaf block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Leaf block, and you'll just repeat this pattern. Now, you only need the leaf blocks every 8th block going widthwise. So 7 blocks in the middle, but we are going to have a bunch of pumpkin stems in the middle, so we will fill all this in. But we're going to go ahead and complete, Colin, if you want to go ahead and work on that side, I'll work on this side. We're going to do the same thing on the back side. So I'm going to extend this all the way across and then have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here is my 8th block, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Leaf block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My outer row, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and a leaf block. So let me get a bird's eye view so you can see the pattern. All right, once you have this basic shape completed, again, you can expand this as far as you want. The pattern is identical regardless of how big or how small you make it. Once you have the pattern filled out with all of the leaves waterlogged and all of your dirt spaced out appropriately, we're just going to fill the rest of it in with dirt. So go ahead and do that. We will go ahead and fill this in. It isn't going to be anything special or fancy, so I'm probably just going to skip forward for you. All right, now if you are following along and you know where your starting point is, it is going to be the side that has 4 dirt blocks. It does not have the leaf block at the end. Again, I've marked it with this melon so we can identify it. Now this farm is directional, which means the lever and the switch that will turn the farm on and off does need to be on the left side of the farm. So when you are looking at the farm with the 4 blocks closest to you, our on and off is going to be on the left side. If you wanted to mirror everything and do it on the right side, you can, but just know that this is directional. The first leaf that is next to our starting point is going to be a slightly different. So I'm going to put a obsidian platform just off to the side of it, and we'll come back to this in a moment. Skip this one for now. Every other leaf block, we are going to put a block of obsidian on top. So just put obsidian on every single leaf block. Colin, if you could get that side, thank you. All right. Now on the obsidian blocks that are furthest away from our starting position, so we're going to skip this first row. On the second set of obsidian blocks, we are going to place redstone dust on all of the obsidian blocks in the same row. We are going to skip the obsidian blocks that are third from our starting position, and then on the last set of obsidian blocks, we are going to place redstone dust. This will hopefully make sense here in a little bit. Now, from the obsidian blocks that don't have any redstone dust on it, we are just going to create a row of obsidian right up to our redstone dust. And we're going to do this on both sides. Now, when you get to the redstone that is in the center, if you crouch, you can place obsidian on top of it, and then we are going to place obsidian on front. So we're going to have this little boxed in section. And be careful not to do what Colin just did, or you're going to have to be mining out that obsidian. But we are going to make this pattern on all of our rows, so give Colin and I just a moment and we will finish this real quick. All right. Now we have our pumpkin farm pretty much established as far as our flying machine goes. For the side that has the leaf that I said we'd come back to, now this platform is going to be a 5x3, so it's going to be 5 lengthwise and 3 widthwise. So that'll go right up to your build border, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So a 5x3. And on the leaf, instead of placing an obsidian block, we are going to place an observer facing the inside of the farm. Now this is going to be part of our on and off switch, so we will come back to this later. We are going to extend this obsidian rail all the way to the dirt, and we have done that on all 4 of our rows. Now once you have extended it to the dirt, we are going to hop up on top of our rail, and we're going to extend all of these 3 additional blocks, just like this. So crouch off the side and do 3 blocks, and do that for all of your rows. All right, once you have extended this 3 blocks, on the second block, we are going to connect all of the sides together. So just like this, we are going to fill this in, but for now, just the second from the last, we're going to connect it all the way down. Now, our flying machine is going to be touching this back wall. We are going to also connect the back side. This can be with any block that you want. If you're playing on DonutSMP, it's easy to buy obsidian from the shop. If you're building this in survival or in another SMP where obsidian isn't easy to get a hold of, you are going to fill this backside in with whatever block you want. But for our example, we're just going to carry this along with obsidian as well. But just know that this back row can be any block that you choose. All right, your back platform should look like this. We are going to add a solid block. Again, this is any block of choice. On the corners, on both sides, and at the edge next to the rails, we are going to have a solid block. So we're calling a standing, just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and add some redstone. So this is where you're going to get your redstone dust and your repeaters. So go ahead and get that ready. All right, now that you got your repeaters and your redstone dust, we are going to start on the side with the observer or the melon, whatever your starting corner is. We are going to find the solid block. We are going to place a repeater towards your rail and a repeater towards the other farm rails. We are going to go up to our next solid block, place a repeater facing the solid block, a repeater facing towards your rail, and a repeater facing away from your solid block. So it's going to look like this, and you're going to do this all the way down until you get to the end. If you wanted to extend this further, you would just repeat the pattern. The last one obviously won't have a repeater because it's going nowhere, but the pattern will be identical all the way down. Next, you're going to connect all of the repeaters together with redstone dust. And now we're ready to move on to our rails. So Colin, if you could do that side, this is identical everywhere we go. We're going to do redstone dust all the way until we get to the first solid block. Then we're going to have a repeater going into the solid block. And then we're going to have a repeater going out of the solid block. So it's going to look like this. We've already placed our first redstone dust down. So repeater going in and a repeater going out. We're going to carry this all the way down until we get to the end of our farm. Now you'll notice that this is the exact same pattern as the center of our farm. So if you were to extend it further, you would have your solid block like this, and we're going to actually put the solid blocks on anyway. We're just not going to put the follow-up repeater. So solid block at the end, repeater going into the solid block, and then connect all your rails in the same way. All right, that is the basic outline of your redstone completed. The pattern would continue every other leaf. So if you have your first set of repeaters above leaf number 2, which we have here, you would skip a leaf, and then on leaf number 4, you would do the exact same thing. So you would just extend this out, add a repeater, and continue on. We're not going to do that for now so we can see the whole farm running, but this is set up perfectly for you to continue extending it. If you are building it exactly like this, you do need to have it ending in the same way we have it, so this is correct. All right, we are about to plant our pumpkins, so grab yourself a hoe and some pumpkin seeds. We are also going to add our light source, because once you start planting the pumpkin seeds, it's real easy to mess up the hoed dirt, and you'll have to redo it. So let's just do all of this in one fell swoop. We are going to start in the middle of each of our farms. We are going to place an obsidian block. Now this does need to be obsidian on the top part because it will be directly next to our flying machine. We're going to run a row of obsidian all the way to the end of our dirt bed for our pumpkin farm. So go ahead and do that now. All right, once you have your obsidian row in the middle, grab yourself a bunch of torches. We are going to place a torch on the last obsidian block, and then you can just place them all the way along if you want. If you want to save space, you can skip every other. Pumpkins require a minimum light level of 9. Now, I am assuming most of you are going to be building this in an underground base, so you are not going to have any of the light from the sky. So you are going to want to place at least a torch every other block. That way the pumpkins have plenty of light. If you do not see pumpkins growing, chances are you skip this step. Also, if you are placing a light source that is not torches, sea lanterns, glowstone, your farm is going to break because they will connect to the flying machine. Torches will not, so we are using torches. Go ahead and do this on as many of the farms as you have built. So we have built 3, so we will do this one final time. So Colin will place those blocks down. I will place the torches. And just like that, our farm is looking great. We are going to, you should still be in your farm. So go ahead and hop back down if you've hopped out. We are going to start hoeing the first row with the observers, and you don't have to in any particular order. Just know that every time you have an obsidian rail, you are going to have the dirt hoed underneath. So we're going to hoe all of that. And if you remember to waterlog your leaves, the ground should start to hydrate. You'll see that with the texture changing colors. We're going to skip a row, and then we're going to place another row of hoed dirt. And I like to do about every 2 rows because you do have to go in and plant your seeds. You can walk safely across hoed dirt. Just be sure not to jump because you don't want to have to redo it. So I do about every other row, planting all my seeds, hoeing the dirt, and continuing on. Alright, as you can imagine, this is the most tedious and boring part of the entire build. So Colin is finishing up that third row. While he is doing that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the switch to turn the farm on and off. This is where you're going to grab 2 droppers. So hop back up on your platform with your observer. We are going to place 1 dropper facing away from your observer, and we're going to place 1 dropper facing the observer. You are going to place a solid block closest to your corner, which is where we're going to turn our farm on. So place a solid block there. Grab your comparators. We are going to place 2 comparators, 1 and 2, on the outside of the dropper. You are going to place a target block on the side of your dropper. Grab your redstone dust and your redstone torches. We're going to place a redstone torch opposite of our comparators off of the target block with a piece of redstone dust going into that solid block. Alright, your switch should look like this so far. Once you have your comparators, we are going to place 2 solid blocks in front of the comparators, and then off by itself in this corner, we're going to place a solid block. We're going to put a redstone torch coming off of the solid block in the corner with a piece of redstone dust going into your comparator and target block. Now the comparator furthest away from the dropper, we are going to place a redstone torch on the backside of that solid block and finish it off with a redstone dust connecting the 2. You should see the second torch turn off because right now we don't have anything in our droppers. Open the dropper closest to your observer. We are going to place 2 items. It doesn't matter what items they are, but we need 2 items inside the back dropper. Now, we are going to take solid blocks, and we're just going to run them all the way up. Don't do that. We're going to run these all the way until we are even with our corner. Alright, because we are dealing with flying machines, this part is technically optional, but when I turn my farm off, I want it to be all the way seated up against the wall, and that's what this is accomplishing. You can skip this step if you are okay with the flying machine stopping anywhere inside of the farm, but I do like to keep my farm nice and tidy. So go ahead and hop back up on your rail, and in the corner block, we are going to build a 3x3 platform starting next to the repeater, and we're going to extend 1 block towards our line of blocks, whatever you chose to build with there. And again, this is going to be a 3x3 platform, so 1, 2, 3, filling that all in. This solid block is going to be powered by an observer. So let me go ahead and grab an observer real quick. We are going to face the observer away from the solid block. That way the output is going to power these 2 repeaters. Once you have placed your observer with the face coming out of that corner, we're going to place a repeater on a 4-tick. Really important that that is a 4-tick. You're going to place a comparator facing away from your clock, or really your on-off switch. We're going to make sure that that is in subtract mode, and then we're going to connect the comparator to the repeater. So that is your clock. All right. Once you have your clock in place, we are going to turn the clock on and off with a copper bulb. So place a copper bulb next to your observer. The comparator will be reading the state of the copper bulb. Next to the copper bulb, we're going to go ahead and run a line of redstone, but from the copper bulb, I'm going to just crouch off the side, and I'm going to add some redstone dust, simply so I can place an observer on top of the redstone dust at the end. And then on top of the observer, we're going to place a solid block. Again, I'm building out of obsidian because that's the bulk of what the farm is. This can be any solid block, but it does need to be a solid block. All right, hop back down to your redstone line. We are going to place an observer looking at the redstone dust. And then we're going to connect our redstone dust all the way up to the observer, just like that. And that is your overly complicated on and off switch for your flying machine. To turn it on, we are going to grab ourselves a lever, and we're going to place a lever on top of the copper bulb. And we are done. So now we just need to build a flying machine. All right. Now, before we turn it on, we could turn it on, but it would actually, let's turn it on just to test it, make sure everything's working. So when I flip the switch, all we're getting is a really pretty light show. And for those of you who are worried that this will not work in DonutSMP, rest assured, this is a 5 redstone tick clock. To turn it off, we are actually going to have to flip this twice. Just for now, when we have the flying machine, it'll be a simple on and off, which we'll explain in a little bit. To build the flying machine, we're going to start with a sticky piston in the corner closest to our lever, facing towards you. Just like that. It does need to be facing towards you in the corner. Then you're going to take slime, and you're going to place slime blocks all the way along the back wall until it is touching the opposite side. So just like that. You're going to take another sticky piston, and you're going to face it into the slime block. And then you're going to place honey on the second row. So just like that. All the way across. And you're going to repeat this exactly. The sticky piston, again, has to be in the corner closest to the lever, or it will break when it gets to the end. But we'll repeat this for as many farms as you have built. All right, the next step, we are going to place any block of choice under the first 2 honey blocks above a non-hoed row. So this is where our harvesting is going to be. So I'm going to use glass just so we can see it, but place 2 glass blocks closest to your lever. We're going to do this on all of the farms. So place 2 glass blocks just underneath. Again, this could be any block of choice as long as it is movable. So it does need to be able to stick to honey or slime, so it can't be like obsidian. Do this on all of your farms. And then we're going to jump down underneath it, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the slime blocks, but it's going to be opposite. So on the slime blocks, right in front of the sticky piston, and on the next row. Again, that's why we chose glass, so you can see where we're placing everything. Now in DonutSMP, the piston push limit is 12. However, when breaking a block like a pumpkin, that does count as the piston push limit. So we have to split the distance, or split the amount between the 2 sides. So that is why we have a distance of 7. And that's why we have 2 on the slime blocks and 2 on the honey blocks. If you decide to place a 3rd one on the honey and the 4th on the slime block, this will not work in DonutSMP. It will work in your survival worlds, but not in DonutSMP, so that does need to be on the back side. And do this for all of your farms. And now it's time to give our flying machine a test run. So hop up and flip the lever. Actually, Colin, if you want to flip the lever, I'll get a bird's eye view. And off she goes. Now, when you are in your base, you'll just leave the farm running. It'll go back and forth and back and forth. When you are ready to teleport away, or you are just wanting to turn it off for whatever reason, as long as the flying machine is past the face of the observer, you can flip this lever off. And with the lever flipped off, if we wait, the flying machines will perfectly park in their starting position. And I would recommend doing this. It does occupy 2 of the pumpkin stem places on each of our farms. But with the flying machine going back and forth, they will have time to grow. These are only inaccessible when the farm is completely off, and that is perfectly fine. I'd rather have the extra pumpkins while it's running than not have them at all. All right, it is, as you can see from the opposite end of the farm, our pumpkins are just being pushed off into nowhere right now. We are going to start our collection system. We're going to go ahead and start on the side with the switch. And I'm going to go ahead and start a little wall just at the end of my flying machine blocks. And I'm going to use endstone because it's cheap and easy to get from the shop in DonutSMP. However, you can use any block that you want here. It does not matter. Just run it the full length of the farm. And directly underneath our rows of pumpkins, we are going to start a collection system underneath. I always go up 2 blocks from our starting position, and I start 1 hopper here. And these are going to be temporary blocks, which we'll show you why in a little bit. But I'm just going to place a row of temporary blocks. I hate temporary blocks, but it'll just be easier to explain. From the very first row where the pumpkins sit, where your leaf blocks are, we're going to place 1 hopper facing in. We're going to skip a row and place another hopper, and we're going to do this all the way down. Just like that. Once you have your hoppers in place, we are going to run these hoppers all the way to the opposite side. So you are going to have to crouch to place it in. Definitely recommend getting Swift Sneak for this part because this is going to take you a little while. All right, while Colin is finishing up those rows, I'm going to go ahead and divert my attention to the back side of the farm. On the middle hopper, each set of farms is going to be displaced by 7. So there is going to be a middle area, which I'm going to place 1 hopper directly in the center into the bottom hopper. Then I'm going to run 3 hoppers on both sides, just like that. And then I'm going to place just cap it off with some endstone. That way nothing gets popped to the side. And this will catch all of the pumpkins that are pushed. And then, of course, all of the hoppers will catch anything that lands on top of our farmland. So we're going to do this exact same thing on all of our farms. So hopper, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right, and actually, I just noticed the hopper directly beneath the leaves. You can actually remove these 2 hoppers to save some hopper capacity. They won't collect anything. You do need them up to the leaf, but if we have an endstone cap like this, you can remove those 2 hoppers, and we'll just do that all the way down. But everything else in the middle, I would recommend leaving those extended out. That way the pumpkins will be able to float evenly. So if your collection system ever does become too full, you'll have plenty of hopper capacity underneath acting as storage. All right. Now, if you recall, when we first started building, I said that we were going to use a shulker loader. We are going to build ours into the ground. So if you did opt to build it exactly the same way and you're going to use a shulker loader, you will have to go 2 blocks down. If you are going to build or just put this into a chest and sell it regularly, you can run these hoppers anywhere you want. Just know that it's a lot easier to transport pumpkins in a shulker box than it is to try to transport a bunch of pumpkins up like a dropper elevator or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig down 2 blocks, starting at our temporary block. We're going to dig down 2, we're going to go forward 2, so it's going to be 3 blocks in total. And we are going to go 5 wide and 6 long. So this is going to be the outline. Just like that, 5 wide, 6 long, with 3 of the blocks being in front of our temporary block. And just go ahead and dig this whole thing out 2 blocks deep. All right, Colin's going to go ahead and hop down in there. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to place a dispenser facing up underneath our temporary block. This is going to be where our shulker box is dispensed. So go ahead, Colin, place a shulker on top. And I will go ahead and get rid of this temporary block, and I'm going to add a hopper into the top of the shulker box, into the hopper. And because we are splitting 3 different farms, depending on how many farms you built, this may not be necessary. If you can move this around, shift it over, that way it's in the center of your farm. But I'm going to go ahead and run hoppers down into the sides of the shulker box. That way I'm getting evenly distributed pumpkins from all of the farms, and we are triple loading this shulker box. You don't have to do that if you have a smaller farm, but this just helps on clearing those pumpkins faster. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add a dropper on the inside of the farm looking into your dispenser. So just place it on the back side. Now, if you are not going to put this hopper over here because a single loader is fast enough, you can actually not use the dropper at all and run into the side of the dispenser. But we're going to go ahead and treat this like a larger farm. All right, I'm going to go ahead and snake some hoppers to the side just like that. You don't have to go all the way forward. This will hold plenty of shulker boxes for the speed of the farm. You just need to make sure that the hopper goes around the side. That way you're not pulling pumpkins into your dropper there in the back. And to make it easier to see, I'm going to go ahead and add a chest. Just like that. And that's where our shulker boxes will go. All right, Colin, go hop back in on the back side. I'll try to get a better view. On the back side of the farm, we are going to place a sticky piston up against the wall. It'll be looking at the shulker box. There'll be one gap space. Then we're going to place an observer looking at the hopper above the shulker box. So on the back side, just crouch and jump like Colin did. And then looking into the observer, Colin is going to place a second observer looking up at it. And the back side, I believe, is done. Is that it, Colin?
Yep, that's it.
All right, let's move to the front. Now we are going to keep everything separated a little bit. So instead of going to the left with our full chest of pumpkins, we're going to go to the right. So let me hop out of spectator mode real quick. And for now, I'm just going to place a double chest here. We'll talk about elevator later. But Colin, if you want to go ahead, and I will place 2 hoppers into that chest. All right, I went ahead and placed 2 hoppers into that chest. Again, we can come back to this later. But Colin is going to go ahead and place 2 hoppers into that hopper line. Actually, to save space, I'm just going to move this chest over here. Again, we'll come back to that. All right, on top of the hopper in front of the shulker box, he's going to place a comparator. That comparator is going to be looking into a solid block. And in front of the solid block is going to be a redstone block. On top of the solid block is going to be redstone dust, and that will extend onto the redstone block. And just like that, I think our shulker loader is finished.
One more thing.
Oh, you're right. I knew something looked off. Off of the back of the redstone dust on the solid block, we're going to have an observer looking into the redstone dust. What will happen when the shulker box is completely full? The comparator will turn on. The signal strength will change from 14 to 15. The observer will see that change. It will power the hopper. And the back observer will see the hopper change, which will then power this sticky piston, and the whole thing will reset. All right, we are good to go. Looks like we have quite a few pumpkins that need to be harvested. So our farm is completely done, so let's go ahead and turn it back on. Actually, Colin, if you want to turn it back on, I'll get a better view over here. Go ahead. All right. Well, unfortunately, I missed a block. This is my fault, not Colin's fault. When you are building out your farm, you actually need to place one final obsidian block over where the end stone is going to be. So the very last block with the redstone dust. Again, this is setting you up to continue it as long as you want, but you do have to have this block here as well, or the very last pumpkins will never be harvested. It's not a big deal, but it will change the dimensions of where your hopper needs to be, because that block will come right up to the end. So that's why we had that weird little cutaway, because I made a mistake. So the obsidian block does need to extend beyond or above where we place the end stone. So let's turn on that farm one more time. And we'll see quite a few pumpkins already. See, they pop up pretty quickly. But let's just check that one more time. Make sure that all of our pumpkins are being harvested. And perfect, right up to the hoppers. And all of our pumpkins have been harvested. And if we go back to our shulker loader, if we take a peek inside, we'll see we already have 3 stacks. We've only been at this for a few minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and get you some numbers for what to expect in an hour, and then we'll be right back. All right, it has been exactly an hour. If we hop down, it looks like we do have a shulker box completely full of pumpkins. And if we take a sneak peek at the shulker box that's in there, it looks like we have almost 3 stacks. So you're going to get about 30 stacks of pumpkins for the size farm that we have built here. Again, you can extend this as far as you want. This is going to be easily doubled and still fit inside your 5 chunk limit. And you can add another 6 farms to the side. So you can quadruple the size of your farm, and you should be getting 5 full shulker boxes full every hour. All right. Now, to finalize your farm, regardless of how big it is, the inside pumpkin plants are going to get their light from the torches. The outside plants in the very far corners, there are a couple plants that will only get a light level of 8. So what we are going to do on the side closest to the switch on both sides, right next to our backstop, we did end stone blocks, or whatever block you did, we're going to place glowstone right underneath those repeaters, and then we're going to place glowstone. They can be torches, I just like the look of glowstone. We're going to place glowstone on the edge of all of the obsidian blocks above your waterlogged leaves, and that's why our build border was out 1 block. We are going to do this on both sides. Now again, this is only going to be on the outside of your farm, and it is going to be different depending on how big your farm is. So we have, actually I didn't count for that one. So the glowstone in our build material, that is what that is for. So just remember, light on the interior of the farm, torches, anything on the outside of the farm can be what you prefer. All right, that wraps it up for another C3 gaming video. We hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun building it. This is probably my favorite farm at the moment. We are going to be using this in DonutSMP. We're going to be using this in our survival world. We just really enjoy this particular farm. If you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord to reach out to us. I'm CD3 Daddy.
And I'm C3DG Minecraft.
And we will see you in the next video.